Thank you all for joining us today. I'm Jenna Momozo, Deputy Director of Staten Island Arts. I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge the physical land on which some of us are gathering today, which is occupied territory. Pagank, now known as Governor's Island, is the traditional and ancestral home of the Lenape people. If you're calling in from somewhere else and you'd like to acknowledge the land you are currently on, please do so in the chat now. As we are meeting virtually, I would also like to offer a digital land acknowledgement written by Adrian Wong of Spiderweb Show in Ontario, Canada. Since our activities are shared digitally to the internet, let's also take a moment to consider the legacy of colonization embedded within the technologies, structures, and ways of thinking that we use every day. We are using equipment and high-speed internet not available in many Indigenous communities. Even the technologies that are central to much of the art that we make leave significant carbon footprints, contributing to changing climates that disproportionately affect Indigenous peoples worldwide. I invite you to join me in acknowledging all this, as well as our shared responsibility to make good of this time, and for each of us to consider our roles in reconciliation, decolonization, and allyship. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ulysses Scott Williams, and I'm the Executive Director of ArtCrawl Harlem. At ArtCrawl Harlem, our mission is to support and share the growing legacy of art as it relates to Harlem and the still thriving community of artists and creatives in New York City. I'm excited to share with you that we will also continue our partnership with the G Project and the What's Your Generational Status program. It's been a pleasure to work with Lorna Harris, Edward Halil, Richard Pelzer, and of course, Alyssa Kritzman. Throughout the summer, ArtCrawl Harlem and the G Project invite you to visit the Boundaries and Connections Artist Residency House on Nolan Park on Governor's Island and share your generational status. The G Project will install an interactive art wall designed for you to answer, what is your G status? How you came to be where you are today. Storytelling is an art form, and the sharing of your story can change someone else's life and create common bonds. This all kicks off during New York City Immigration Heritage Week with the G Project's virtual program titled Pop In on Governor's Island. You go to thegproject.org for more information. As I mentioned, ArtCrawl Harlem is returning to Governor's Island for our second artist residency program entitled Boundaries and Connections. We have selected 3 amazingly talented New York City-based artists as our residents. They include photographer and portrait artist Michael Obele, painter and mixed media artist Mario Joyce, and mixed media artist Melissa Sutherland. Each artist has been awarded a 6-week residency program where they will create a series of work concentrating on the theme art and activism. On designated weekends, each artist will host open studios so that they can invite the public at large. Please go to artcrawlharlem.org for more information. 2020, and even now, has been challenging for all of us. Soon we will return to some sense of normal, or maybe a new normal. So mask up and visit ArtCrawl Harlem, the G Project, and our extraordinary artists in residence this summer and into the early fall. For more information, visit gproject.org and artcrawlharlem.org. In closing, I encourage you to continue to explore, experience, and appreciate art. We look forward to seeing you on Governor's Island and in the great Upper Manhattan town of Harlem, USA. Now I want to hand it over to Richard E. Pelzer II.
Thank you, Ulysses. My name is Richard E. Pelzer II, and I am the Communications and Marketing Director for the G Project. I am a G6. I'm very excited and proud to say on both sides of my family, on my mom's side and my dad's side, I can count back 6 generations. When I was growing up with my 2 sisters and my mom and dad, my great-grandmother on my father's side lived with us, and she shared in the early 1900s that they migrated from South Carolina to Philadelphia to give the family a better life. With that actually said, this is what this project is really all about. During the pandemic, we actually had a very hard time on connecting, and I was really proud and excited to share this project with so many people.
Immigrants Are Us, the G Project.
I am here today getting my G status or understanding it. And it's always nice to be able to talk about how you're connected to the world.
Question number 1, did you, your parents, or grandparents come from another country? If yes, where? If no, do you know where your people were from before the United States? Are you a Native American, American Indian?
You can use words, you can use stick figures, you can just use colors, whatever you feel like you want to do.
As African Americans, many of us are not aware of our ancestral origins before
Yes.
these shores. And I said that on one side of my family, we had traced back to Ivory Coast.
I thought it was important to make the time to be a part of this project because immigrants are our friends, they're our neighbors, they're our co-workers, they are who we are.
G stands for generation. And so we are all Gs, and depending on how far back our ancestry goes, defines what numerical status of Gs we are. So for instance, I was born in Iraq, so I'm a G0.
I did share that I have one grandfather from Barbados, but that everybody else is from the United States, but the G status is, I call it for myself, 8 with a question mark.
So my grandparents came from Italy, but they had immigrated from another country before they went to Italy.
What is an immigrant? We throw the word out. I heard it this week, I heard it maybe 50 times. This is a work session. This is not a seminar. And you're going to teach us and help us make this a better project.
What was it like and just absorbing and engrossing and getting everyone's feelings wrote into how you were sharing out with us?
I was made to feel like a foreigner, not in a negative way, but I realized that you have to open your mind to people from another place.
This project is a really great way of us actually really understanding some of the things that we just don't really know as a whole.
We are creating art together. And it's just like when you go vote, you get a little sticker, I voted today. So today you came to Immigrants Are Us and part of the G Project.
I enjoyed being here. I enjoyed meeting the other people who were willing to offer who they were and how they're connected to the world.
I have been enlightened by the experience.
I think this is nothing if not timely.
My name is Lorna Harris, and I am the executive producer of Immigrants Are Us, the Generation Project. When I came on board, I was completely ignorant of what my G status was. In fact, I had no idea what a G status is. So in learning to determine what that G status is, it really bolstered my self-identity. It really gave me a connection to my pedigree and who I am as a human being on this earth and where I came from. So, as I said before, I'm a G7. If I didn't share it with you, I'm a G7. My family, my ancestors, I am a descendant of enslaved Africans, and shortly after the Civil War, they were granted property. And they started a community called Ross Hill. That property is still there in Chickasaw County, Mississippi, and it's my roots. My family moved north in 1918, and we had to for many reasons, and many people migrated from the South to the North for better opportunities, and my family was one of them. But with that history, it gave me a sense of pride. It gave me a sense of knowledge. It gave me a sense of, as Edward said before me, community building. So my job, my duties, my responsibilities to building community align perfectly with the G Project. So the Harlem Arts Foundation, which is the auspices of the project, is about building community. It's about reaching out and making connections within the community of Harlem, but also throughout the world. So my job is to operationalize the programs, to drive this project forward, and of course, to raise some money. The G Project is celebrating Immigrant Heritage Week with a 7-month residency in collaboration with ArtCrawl Harlem on Governor's Island. What an important historic location. Governor's Island sits in the harbor, the New York City harbor, and is surrounded by water, but it also has Lady Liberty. Yes, the Statue of Liberty is in the New York City harbor. We know that thousands and thousands of people passed through, and once they got here, they all went on to live their lives and create the stories that we know today or that we're hoping to share today. So throughout this project, we have artists. There's been 3 selected artists through jurors for ArtCrawl Harlem, and they will be there in residence, but also the G Project is there to share our space. We have a wall where you'll be able to participate by recording your story, even designing a card, your own artwork to hang on our wall. Again, I welcome you to this event to celebrate Immigrant Heritage Week 2021 with us, the Generation Project. Thank you so much.
Immigration, again, if we're going to be a new majority and immigration is raging, then our Latino brothers and sisters are our cousins. These are our relatives. But I also knew this, that racism was trying to tear us apart. And so, when I would talk to African Americans, he says, oh, well, you know, people trying to take our jobs, you know, these low-wage jobs. I'm not, you know what? I am not going to try to have someone come to realizing that immigration reform is a human rights issue, is a civil rights issue. You know why? Because I know too many black folks that have immigrants in their background hiding in plain sight. And so I said, we have a whole generation. And I was trying to be clever with the kids, you know how they talk about G's and OGs. So I said, what do I need? I want to appeal to older folks into the new generation. And therefore the G Project was born, which is to make visible those of us who have mothers, fathers, grandfathers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, who can identify with the ancestors and the immigrants in our background. And so it was a different way for me to get African Americans to talk about their immigration status. Anytime you've got Colin Powell, Nicki Minaj, and any number of writers, poets, scientists, who in this country, looking at the surface, you're just black. Well, black is deeper and more diverse. And so the G Project, the Generation Project, is to surface that immigrant connection.
Hello, my name is Doji Bedema, and my G status is 0. An interesting encounter that I had here in New York City when I moved from West Africa was that as an immigrant, I drove a cab for 7 years. And one day I picked up a passenger. She was totally different from me. She was Caucasian, raised in Massachusetts. But back in the 90s, in a cab, it always gets very hot in the back in the summertime. So I invited her to sit in the front. She sat in the front and we were on our way to Penn Station. And I remember we had a great conversation. We got to talk about our backgrounds. We got to know each other. And that experience stayed with me because I think people from different backgrounds can come together by trying to get to know each other. And as soon as they know each other's background, there is this communication that happened, this thing that happened since we are all human beings and there's only one human race. We get to know each other and we can live in a better society.
My name is Mario Joyce Blucher, and I'm a G9. Yeah, I know I'm a G9 just because I do genealogy, and I have researched my family back to 1663 in colonial Virginia. So we've been here a very, very long time. So that's on my mom's side of the family, and then my dad's side of the family is a little trickier because they're from Alabama. My grandma was actually a sharecropper. So the information gets it gets fuzzy, but yeah, I mean, we've been here we're very much a part of this country. Yeah, I'm originally from Ohio. I'm from Central Ohio, but three of my grandparents came from the South. They came from North Carolina and Alabama, like I said. But I was born and raised on a farm in Central Ohio and really in the middle of nowhere.
I want to thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope that you will continue to take this journey with us. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so below. And if you haven't visited our website, please do so at gproject.org. Now I would like to ask, what is your G status? What is your story? We would love to hear it, and hopefully you will share it. You would share this video with your friends, your family, your coworkers. So we would all, as Americans or people living in America, would be able to discover each other. Thank you.
And since this is the last speech that I will give as president, I think it's fitting to leave one final thought, an observation about a country which I love. It was stated best in a letter I received not long ago. A man wrote me and said, "You can go to live in France, but you cannot become a Frenchman. You can go to live in Germany or Turkey or Japan, but you cannot become a German, a Turk, or Japanese. But anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American." This, I believe, is one of the most important sources of America's greatness. We lead the world because, unique among nations, we draw our people, our strength, from every country and every corner of the world. And by doing so, we continuously renew and enrich our nation. While other countries cling to the stale past, here in America, we breathe life into dreams, we create the future, and the world follows us into tomorrow. Thanks to each wave of new arrivals to this land of opportunity, we're a nation forever young, forever bursting with energy and new ideas, and always on the cutting edge, always leading the world to the next frontier. This quality is vital to our future as a nation. If we ever close the door to new Americans, our leadership in the world would soon be lost.